Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 horror podcast, formerly on Pornhub. Getting off, I am your host, the patron saint of podcasting, the Warden Matt Ritter. And I am here with my co-host this evening. She is host of the She Lead Showcase, Inside the Mind of, Getting Off, and Story Time with Miss Katie Kinsey Baby.
Hey.
He is co-host of Wrestling Bros podcast. He is my resident New Japan Connect to keep me informed on everything the Great Okan does. And if Jaxpo is listening, he's my favorite ginger, Dan Bakley.
What is going on?
And he is purveyor of Rivet City Radio, host of Botch Spots and Chair Shots, the lesser half of Allison, who is in the chat. I almost said Alice in Wonderland. Allison, who is in the chat. He is a chef by trade, a mark by choice. He is the Will Gray.
I'm just really glad to be here, guys. It's good to see you.
You can't pop up her thing when I'm doing intros because then I read her thing and it fucks me up.
Then just wait until after and just let it sit there.
How you guys doing? Everyone good?
Fantastic, Mateo. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. I went and saw 2 movies today. We saw Twisters and I saw Alien Romulus today.
Ooh.
How was it?
Twisters was good. Alien Romulus, I think I had my hopes a little high because it was directed by Fede Alvarez, who did Evil Dead, and I loved Evil Dead so much. So I think I went in with too high of expectations for what I was getting, but it wasn't terrible.
I mean, it's almost like we're talking about bad movies or movies we don't like today or something.
That is correct. We are here, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about movies that we hated. So this is our panel episode. Basically, how this is going to work is I'm probably just going to start with Katie and work our way around the room. She's going to give us one movie, tell us why she hated it, and then we'll talk about it. And then I'll go to Dan, and I'll go to Will, and then we'll go to me, and we'll just keep doing this circle jerk till we run out of time or we get tired of doing it. Whatever comes first. That is Coke, not Dr. Pepper. I need to go shopping. I see.
Strawberries and cream tonight. Went on the wild side and got one of the flavors.
Look at you.
Look at us go.
Before we do all of that, though, I need to plug a couple things. First and foremost, twitch.tv/Creation World, which you guys can be watching us on right now. Over at Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, you have Prime Gaming. If you have Prime Gaming, you have a Twitch account. You touch tips with those two, like MXM. And it creates a free subscription every month because you're already paying for Amazon Prime. So you get that free sub. You go on your computer, you go to click use free Prime sub, costs you absolutely nothing. It's just there for you. That helps support your favorite podcasters on Twitch. Will over there, Katie over here. Oh.
There we go. Yeah.
Damn, Mike. There we go. That one.
Mm-hmm.
Bakley, how about you? You got some stuff going on Twitch?
With Circle of Debate, yes.
Circle of Debate, one of our favorite podcasts and biggest supporters. Love Ivan. He thinks I'm sexy. I love everyone who thinks I'm sexy. So, if none of them, there's also me. Creation World, that place that I told you to go. You give us that free sub. You show us some support. Costs you nothing. Helps us keep making content for you. There's also youtube.com/Creation World. It is free to like, to subscribe, to comment. Will, what does that do?
It boosts the algorithm and it helps find new listeners.
That's what he says. Katie, why is that important?
Because you're a whore.
That is correct. I'm a whore for your likes, for your views, for your comments, for your listens, for your attention. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're here. We're talking movies that we hated. That's why we did Smack and Raw last night. The whole point of podcasting is I just love fucking attention. So give me attention. But not just your attention. It's not that you're not good enough. You're great. But you know what? So's your mom. So's your dad, your sisters, your brothers, your aunts, your uncles, maybe your stepdad. Maybe he's the dad that stepped up. Have him step up to the plate and give us some likes over on YouTube, some interactions. Show me some love. I would love that. It'd be fucking fantastic. The goal here is, though, interaction, because interaction helps more people find us, and the more people that find us, they can enjoy us, and then, spread me like the STD that I am. That's the goal here.
Relax.
Let me infect your lives with joy and entertainment. Also, flick that bean for me. Hit the notification bell. Get notified every time we go live. Every Thursday for the Creation Conversation. Will has been filling in over there the last couple weeks. Every Saturday for Smack and Raw, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. And every other Sunday back at its normal time slot. This show right here, getting off 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. We have one more Katie Horror Showcase before trivia returns, and we find out who the final participant in the year-end horror trivia to face Katie and Reek are. That is in 1 month. So make sure you stay tuned. Hit your notification bell. Get notified when we go live so you can catch the trivia and everything else that we do. Whew. That was a lot. Anything with The Rock. Are there any Rock horror movies? No, thinking about it.
I don't think so.
The Tooth Fairy.
I was going to say the Tooth Fairy. Yeah. What up, Tommy?
Timmy?
Timmy.
Tommy
Well, with all
loves
of
the
that
D.
said, Katie, you want to run the
Yes.
ticker?
Ticker. There it is.
Beautiful. She was polite about it. She said least liked movies. Katie.
Well, because that's how I had it written down on the master list.
Yeah, I know. What is your first movie that you liked the least?
Oh no, this one I fucking hate. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of the movie Rubber.
I don't use them, but
Matt.
I've watched the movie.
You're the absolute worst.
I've heard that. Actually, right before we came downstairs, I heard that.
Okay, told you the absolute worst.
Uh-huh.
That sounds about right. Sounds fitting. Okay, so for those who don't know, this movie is a, quote, horror comedy. I'm putting it in quotes because it's neither funny nor scary. I wrote down the plots of all of my movies just in case no one has heard of them. So, the plot of Rubber from 2010 is a car tire comes to life with the power to make people explode and goes on a murderous rampage through the Californian desert. I'm not kidding. This tire has a name. His name is Robert. I don't know why it was made. The graphics are terrible. I watched this in high school. Yes, a tire. A rubber tire is killing people and is obsessed with some lady that he
It
sees
just like
in a motel.
bounces around the desert, finds people, makes them blow
It's
up.
just rolling. Just
the
rolling.
entire movie.
Yeah, and he blows people up with nothing. With just because
Telekinetic rubber powers.
it's
It's
the acting is
Here.
terrible. Things are terrible about it. It's an awful movie. 10 out of 10 do not recommend.
the crazy thing is rubbers are supposed to contain the explosion, not create it.
See, I knew you were going to make it a sex thing.
That's why the show is called Getting Offed, Katie.
Yeah, but like,
And only 50% of that is about how people die in a horror movie.
I hate you.
The other 50% is about fucking.
I hate you so much.
No, you don't.
True. Yeah, it's terrible. Don't recommend.
10 out of 10 would not recommend. On the Ritter scale, where would you put it? 1 through 10.
0.
0.
Wow.
So it's one of those really, really bad B movies. And I know, like, Will, you like bad B movies sometimes, right? Like, you know that they're supposed to be bad and campy and you can enjoy that.
Absolutely.
That is kind of the point of Rubber, is it's supposed to be so stupid that it's kind of entertaining. Katie is not entertained.
I am not entertained in the slightest. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
All right. Dan, what is the first movie on your list and why do you hate it?
The first one on my list is The Fog. It's the 2000s remake of a 80s original movie that was actually good. I thought the 80s one was actually good. And what I hated about it was the fact that they tried to change the storyline in the beginning of the remake, and it just made it no sense. In the original movie, you have settlers that steal treasure from pirates, and then the pirates come back to the land. It's like a fisherman's town on the west coast, and they come back to life within a fog, which you don't really know what the fog is inside of it, and it starts killing people. And in the original, the way that they end the movie is they give the gold back to the pirates and then they go away. But
Okay.
in the remake, they just steal treasure from settlers. They steer basically the land that they're at, make themselves the founders, and then the way that everything gets fixed is you find out the main actress in the movie somehow, some way looks like the mistress to the main settler that dies in the beginning. He kisses her and then disappears, and then they all go away. It just
That
90 minutes of not making any sense whatsoever for the movie, especially with the main actor who's played by Tom Welling. He's supposed to be a descendant of the founders, and he's like the only one that doesn't get killed. And they don't explain why. And there's a lot that's just not explained in the remake.
So the idea is that they stole gold from pirates, and the only way to settle the debt so that the pirate fueled fog that is killing everyone is to give them back their gold. That is the original premise. And they said, you know what, that's great. But you know what's better? If instead of treasure we steal land, and instead of having to give it back, we just make this chick kind of look like somebody that the ghost was sleeping with, and then he'll fall in love with her and he'll kiss her, and then they'll all just go away and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they don't explain it at all. He just randomly walks up to her, kisses her, she turns into a spirit, and then they all disappear.
That's wild.
To answer Allison's question, I believe fear.com is on the list for somebody here tonight. So that will be talked about. I'm glad you brought that up, though, Bakley, because I have been a proponent of remakes for the most part. There are a lot of remakes out there that people hate that I'm like, honestly, it wasn't that bad. I have a few remakes on my list tonight because when you change too much about what the remake is supposed to be, like what the movie was that you're remaking, you ruin the movie. We're going to talk a lot about that tonight because there are a couple movies. One that Will actually really likes that I'm going to talk about that they completely fucked up the story for and changed way too much for me. But we'll see about that. Will Gray, what is the first movie on your list and why did you hate it?
The cinematic shit show from 2002. That was Cabin Fever. I'm an Eli Roth guy. Okay. So on my notes, I said there were a lot of plot issues. I felt like the plot was thin and it relied too heavily on gore. And that was one of the things Eli Roth later became known for. But I feel like here they shortcutted a lot of the story on the sake of, hey, let's just kill everyone off in this movie. One of the redeeming factors, though, was that it was loosely based on a true story, which is cool in a weird, fucked up way that all that shit actually happened. Like, there was a lot of pacing issues. It was uneven and it like really slow in places, and it feels like some parts of the story were rushed. It didn't like, it was kind of convoluted and just kind of messy. Again, gore overload. I'm not a big again, I like bad movies when they're supposed to be bad. I don't like high budget horror movies that suck because they decide to spend it all on special effects and practical effects and not on their cast. And then for me, as a comparison to other cabin horror movies, I prefer Cabin in the Woods because the execution of horror mixed with comedy was delivered better, I feel like, than the little bit of, I don't really think it was more like dark humor in the moment because of what they were going through kind of things. But I think Cabin in the Woods delivered that comedy better. So like
Okay.
Cabin in the Woods over Cabin Fever. And Cabin Fever to me isn't so bad that I'm going to give it a 1, but it's definitely like a 3 or a, that bottom third of the Ritter scale.
So that you reminded me because I forgot to ask Dan that question. I'm gonna hop back to Dan and ask him. But when we made the Ritter scale, a 10 was Halloween. Do you remember what a 1 was?
For me,
No, for me, when we created the Ritter scale, I said 10 is the original Halloween and 1 is here, and that's what you based the whole scale on when we created it.
I'm looking now. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, I want you to find it so that Bakley knows where to kind of rate the movie on the scale.
Matt,
He's
you and
looking
I
with the
talk a lot
Uncrustable in
on
his
trying.
mouth.
Yeah, dude, I was just smashing Uncrustable, guys. It was time for second dinner, and I'm here with you guys.
Second dinner consists of Uncrustables.
That is correct.
The more you know.
Well, when you look at the movies that you brought to the table, Bakley, on a scale of 1 to 10, based off the other movies that you have here that you also really didn't like, where would you rank this on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would rate it at a 3 because I think
3?
what they did, like movie wise, how they shot it when that was good. I thought the people that played their parts were well. I just thought that minor tweak that they tried to make is what caused the movie to not make sense and to make it bad because it changed the whole landscape of the whole franchise from the original.
I've never seen The Row, so I cannot comment on Allison's comment.
Looks like a bad sorority movie. The women on the
Has
poster hot,
Layla
though.
from Vanderpump Rules in it. She was banging the director and got the part. Love that.
Oh, good for her.
Matt,
So
I have no
Bakley's got-
idea.
So Katie's got Rubber at a 0. Bakley has The Fog at a 3. Will has Cabin Fever at a 3. I'm Will, I'm with you on this movie. I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with this movie because there are parts of this movie, like the sex scene where the dude loses his dick from the flesh-eating disease, that I really enjoy. And nudity is always a plus for Matt Ritter. But I agree with a lot of the points that you made about the pacing of the movie and the heavy reliance on gore.
And I love Eli Roth. Like, watch Hostel. That's a fantastic movie, and it's nothing but gore for the sake of gore.
Okay, Katie, you have not seen Hostel, correct? I see that face you're making. Listen.
I don't want
we're
to. No, I don't want to.
It's not that bad. Like, trust me, you have seen so much worse with me as far as gore and shit goes. I promise you, it's not that bad now. It was bad when it came out. When it came out, it was very graphic. Evil Dead 2013, far more gore and disgustingness than what you're going to get from Hostel.
If you're lying to me, I'm going to beat you up.
There's maybe one scene that just one, and it's quick, but like, I promise you, we will add it to shit Matt made Katie watch.
Fuck.
We'll do that. House of Wax, I also believe, is on the list, so don't worry, Allison, that's coming. For me, the first movie on my list, it's not a remake. It is a movie called It Follows. I have, since this movie has come out, been shitting on this movie. I have made it a point at every juncture to shit on this movie. And here's the deal. Elevated horror. I've talked about how I am not a fan of the term elevated horror because it feels like people who say I enjoy elevated horror makes it sound like they feel like they're better than the rest of the horror fans. Like, I like my horror to have a deep-seated meaning and be about something. And a lot of that is cool. And don't get me wrong, there's a great message in It Follows. If you look at if you take the message away and you look at basically what It Follows is it is a poor ripoff of Halloween with a ghost STD. That is the movie itself is not entertaining. The ending doesn't pay anything off. When I look at other elevated horror movies like The Babadook up until the ending was fucking scary and really interesting. And then you get to the ending, and again, because it's elevated horror, We're talking about a bunch of different movies. So far, we've talked about the Fog remake. We've talked about the movie Rubber. Will talked about Cabin Fever. And right now, I'm talking about It Follows. With the Babadook, scary all the way through. Then you get to the end, and it's like, well, the movie is about depression, and depression never goes away. So it's just something you have to live with. So she just has to live with it. It's kind of the same thing with It Follows, but none of the scary was there. None of the throughout the movie, I'm waiting for something to happen, and then you get to the end, and they're just walking down the street, and it's following them, and it's like we just have to kind of live with this and move on. Now, the message, like I said, the stigma that women deal with sex, and the stigma for sex for young people, and all of that, that's there. The message is great. For me, the delivery was awful, and the homages to scenes that they shot to be like Halloween. Also, what really bothered me was I had no idea when this movie was supposed to take place. I know that they're in Detroit, but like every fucking TV and every house that they went into was like an old school box TV, but everyone was driving like brand new cars, except for the one kid across the street who had like an old shitty clunker, or no, the boyfriend that picked her up. But like he was a jock, and it was like kind of a muscle car. Like, it was really fucking weird. There was a clamshell cell phone tablet thing that one of them was using, but like, again, they're watching only black and white movies on old school box TVs. And I was so excited for this movie from the trailer, and I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be so good. And for me, it wasn't. I'm mad that I sat through all of that. I'm mad that that's the finale. This is not Annabelle's 10 or Annabelle's a 5. House of Demons remake was a 1. And Halloween is a 10. Thank you, Will.
House of Demons or Night of Demons?
Night of Demons, maybe. I found it, and then I clicked the button on my phone that took the getting off chat from May when we had that conversation to today. And I was like, because I was going to screenshot it so I could send it to you. But I clicked it too soon, and it shot back today. I was like, fuck it. I'm not going back.
That's okay.
But I found it. That was it. 6 months ago.
Mars Deadwood, that's fair. I thought up until the end, I feel like the ending killed the Babadook for me. Like, I thought it was really good until we got to, she's just going to put her depression in the basement and then feed it, and because it's not going to go anywhere. She's just going to feed it, and it is what it is. Like, that kind of killed the movie for me. I feel like if there was some sort of finale, again, back to It Follows, which is the movie that we're talking about, them walking down the street and it continuing to follow them is not akin to Michael Myers got shot 6 times and got up. Like, they never actually dealt with whatever it was that was following them, the stigma, whatever you want to call it. It never got dealt with. They just kind of accepted it and then got into a relationship and said, it is what it is. We'll stick together and it'll always be with us. And apparently they have to keep fucking other people to stay alive. So like, now you're cheating on the person that you're in a relationship with. Both of them are. And one's got to die before the other because that was the sequence of events. I can't stand this fucking movie.
It's okay.
And
it's okay. You know why? Because they're making a sequel, so you can complain about it more.
Fuck. And here's the thing, like, I want you guys to know if you guys are watching, I appreciate everyone watching. If you guys missed the plugs at the beginning of the show, youtube.com/GraceWorld, twitch.tv/GraceWorld. Please follow, like, and check out all of the content that we do, whether it is wrestling related or video game, movie, nerd news related, everything that we've got for you. I rewatched all of the movies that I hate for you guys to take down specific points. So we talked about a shit ton of really old TVs, cars, fashion. Some of the shots and music makes the movie feel out of time. They're using landlines, but this family that also can't afford like a decent TV has a pool in the backyard. Dialogue sucks and is awkward as shit. Poorly done homages to Halloween. Also, why does this 21-year-old dude that's picking her up for a date have chloroform? Like, is chloroform easy to access for just your average person? Because I have never gone into a store or known of a place, not that I've looked, because the fuck, but like, how do you just get fucking chloroform? Neither here nor there. Also, why didn't he put her clothes back on her when he tied her up and left her in the parking garage? Why did he leave her in her underwear? Like, I feel like if you were just leaving her there to like get eaten up by it, like, you could at least dress her back up. I don't think it cares whether she has clothes on or not. There was also the creepy scene where it became the dude's mom and then fucked the dude to death in his bedroom as his mom. That was a whole thing that I was not a fan of, even though mom did have nice titties.
You're a monster.
Well, it as mom had nice titties. Sexually transmitted hauntings / reputation. We talked about that. Also, this girl she is in an arm cast. Like her arm got fucked up. She has no regard for the arm cast. She's hopping in swimming pools with the cast. Mold gets in there. Like you're supposed to put that shit in a bag. She's in all sorts of water, just not like taking care of her shit at all. And Yara got shot in the leg, and everyone ignored her for the main character. She just back there bleeding, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And it's like, she got shot. What about the girl bleeding out in the back? Why is everyone ignoring Yara? Oh, because she's not important. Okay, she's just a background character, but she still got fucking shot. The movie pisses me off. I cannot stand it. It is basically the entire basis. Well, the whole point of this episode is movies that we hated to talk about. But I will take good movie recommendations in the chat if you want to throw some at me.
Fair.
I can't stand this movie. I can't.
I know. I know. I'm surprised you did it first. I thought you were gonna like save it for last.
Well, again, there's a theme to remakes and stuff that we're gonna get into, and trust me, I'm gonna have as much to say about the other movies on the list as I have about this one. But on the Ritter scale, 1 to 10, 10 being the original Halloween, 1 being Night of the Demons remake. Just because it was a slightly higher budget movie, and due to the fact that even though it was executed, in my opinion, so fucking poorly as a horror movie, there is a good message there. I will also give this a 3.
Okay.
It is an original concept, and we're lacking a lot of that in movies today. Katie was just talking about why can't anyone make original movies? Why is it all sequels and remakes? This was an original movie. So I will give it a little bit of credit. Plus titties. So like it got a 3 for original titties. Katie?
Yes.
What's next on your list?
Well, since we're talking about elevated horror, my next movie is Hereditary. Yeah, I saw this movie in theaters. I did not like it. It was a waste of my time. The best part of the movie is when the girl loses her head to a bull. That's the best part of this whole movie. I give credit to Toni Collette. Toni Collette's fantastic. She gets props. It's the same thing with Matt. Like, elevated horror has become a thing in the past 10 years, give or take. And people like this and Midsommar and all of these other fucking movies, and everyone's like, it's elevated horror, you really don't understand it. No, I understand it perfectly fine. It's stupid. It's not elevated, it's just has an out-of-the-box premise that you think is elevated, and it's not. This is just about... It's literally hereditary. It's genes. It's psychology. It's passing shit down from family, like people in the family. It's literally what it's about. Because the grandmother dies, and then all this crazy shit starts happening, and then Alex Wolff, who's the kid, Toni Collette's son, ends up as like the king of demons or some shit in the end, and there's just a lot happening in this movie with a lot of different ways it's going, and the ending doesn't make sense. I just don't understand the hype of this movie. I really don't.
I agree with you. I watched it one time because everyone talked about it. I didn't love it. I was like, all right, cool. Like, as you said, that scene with the sister getting decapitated hooked me. And then after that, it was all just kind of downhill from there for me. And the thing about you brought up elevated horror, and everyone's like, oh, it's elevated. You just don't get it. It's not, again, Hereditary. It follows. It's not subtext. It's right there on the surface. It's very obvious what they're doing. And I think that's a lot of the problem, is how very obvious a lot of this shit is, that it's taking away from making the movie entertaining, at least to me.
Same.
Where would you rank it on a scale of 1 to 10?
For the pure shock of the little girl's head getting knocked clean off, and for Toni Collette specifically, I can give it a 3.5.
Okay.
But Will looked shocked when I said Hereditary.
I was going to say this. I was just about to say, well, you looked kind of shocked. You got any thoughts on Hereditary?
Well, I thought of this analogy while she was talking about, like, the think piece horror flicks, they're kind of like the fine dining of the culinary world. Like they want to sell you a $500 meal that you have to think about, when in reality they could have just cooked you a steak. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to sit down at your dinner and have to think your way through it, and then at the end of it, you and the person you're watching the movie with or having the meal with have two totally different experiences off of what you just seen. So I could understand that. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's A24, right? Didn't they do that? To me, like, I'm a big A24 fan, but their horror movies very
hit or miss.
much are hit or miss. And I
Yes.
preferred Midsummer over Hereditary. But to me, like, none of them were terrible. I think every one of their horror movies sets in that 4 to 6 range. You know what I mean? So it's that 3.5, I guess, is fair. You know?
Yeah.
I only preferred Midsummer to Hereditary because I am in love with Florence.
Florence Pugh. Yeah.
That's it. That was it.
Who's
That's
not
the whole
in
reason
love
I
with
went and saw the
Florence
movie.
Pugh?
So, Bakley, any thoughts on Hereditary, or you want to go with your next movie?
I've never seen it, so
Well,
Oh, well. Oops.
based on Katie's recommendation, is it something you're putting on your list?
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Have fun.
Oh, I
All
will.
right, Dan, what you got?
Where do I start with this one? I'm going with the remake of House of Wax, 2005. You had Eliza Cuthbert, Chad Michael Murray, Paris Hilton, Jared Padalecki, and Brian Van Holt. This is just, for me, this is just a clusterfuck, because I remember my grandparents being like horror movie watchers from like the 50s, 60s, and my grandmother would tell me about the original remake, and I know it's about two business partners having a dispute, and the one wind up going on his own and starting his own wax museum. And this one is like a complete opposite of what that is. It's two brothers that were conjoined twins, which you only find out if you do the math yourself and you look at the clues that they give you. And they wind up going apart, and you have to actually read to find out the one lost some of his face when they got taken apart, because he was facing his brother before they got separated. And the mom owned a wax museum, and then wind up when she died, they took over. And the way that they filled the museum was they just hunted people, killed them, and then put them in the museum. But you really don't find any of this out throughout the movie, which is the bad part of it. Like, you got these group of kids going to a college football game. It gets too dark, so they start camping. A guy comes in, shines his lights on, and that's basically the start of them having their car issues. They go to this weird town, and it's just a bunch of just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like they go there, everybody's waxed, but they don't find out. And it's these three brothers that just cause everything, and they basically get people to go to the town by wrecking with their cars and messing with them, getting them to go right to the town so they can fill up the museum. But there's no real plot of what the purpose of the museum is, like why does the brother torture the other brother, because that's why he has a mask on, like he tortures him. He basically, with psychology, gets his brother to kill people. So it's like, you have the killer itself, but is he really the bad guy, or is it his brother?
The normal brother is the psychotic one. The one that's got the full face is the crazy one. I actually don't hate this movie, Dan. I saw Katie's shocked look too. Paris Hilton's terrible. If I remember correctly, Chad Michael Murray and Elisha Cuthbert are brother and sister.
Yes.
And
see, that's the thing. I feel like Chad Michael Murray should have been in the movie because everybody hated him. And you find out that she tipped the cops on her own brother to get him arrested. But then here he is hanging out with his sister and her friends.
Yeah.
And then, and you talked about this with the cast and running around like the cast doesn't mean anything. She gets her finger cut off. And then there's no mention of the finger ever again. It's just like, oh, I'm fine. I'm just running around getting chased and the finger does nothing to me, you know. And then
I may have been blinded by Elisha Cuthbert. I'm not going to lie to you.
And then you got the killer Vincent. He must have been a all conference javelin thrower because the way that he killed Paris Hilton, throwing the pole through the car right into the middle of her head, like
iconic.
Listen, I'm not saying Paris Hilton's an easy target for a pole, but
God damn it.
That was a good one. That was a
God
good
damn
one.
it.
Katie, you got thoughts?
I agree with Matt. Like, I don't think this is like a terrible movie. I agree, plot kind of shit. I fucking love Chad Michael Murray, so anything he's in, I'm going to watch and love because of him. Same with Jared Padalecki for the most part. Like the cast itself, I think is fine. Like you said, plot is kind of shit, which is fair. Jared Padalecki getting turned into a wax figure, creepy as all hell. Scared me, scarred me. But I don't know. It's just one of those movies like I'll put it on and be like, memories.
Why is Jared Padalecki always like the good guy boyfriend character that the douchebag in the movie hates, though? Because it's the same thing in the Friday the 13th remake, where the douchey boyfriend hates him, and then she kind of falls for him. In this one, Chad Michael Murray is a douchebag, and she hates his sister's boyfriend, and he's a dick to him the entire time.
Maybe because I don't know. I feel like
I
majority
think
of his
he's
career is Jared
justified.
Padalecki.
I think he's justified for being a dick because of what his sister did.
Fair.
Well, yeah.
And they were twins in that movie too, right? That was their thing, was like they were twin brother and sister.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan, where would you rank this on a scale of 1 to 10?
I rank it a 4. Like I don't have any that are very bad. It's just with me, it's all about the storyline, and I felt like it was just too wonky for me. Like just like Katie said, I love the cast. Just the story just didn't do it for me.
Well, since you saved what movie I know you saved for last, I'm also going to save one that Will liked for last. But Will, you're up next. What you got next on your list?
The only thing I had for House of Wax was, I swear to God, I wasn't even sure if I ever remembered watching it until you mentioned Paris Hilton, and then I was like, oh yeah, like I remember her getting booked for that movie because she was kind of the it girl at the time. I remember me being like, it doesn't make any sense for her to be in a horror movie, but they did it because they wanted to put butts in seats.
Paris Hilton.
Yeah, exactly. For me, second movie on the list, coincidentally, also from 2002, and it's Fear.com. Al mentioned it earlier in the chat. There's two big reasons in the plot for me. One, you got to keep in mind, early 2000s, this is the same time as like Hackers and Swordfish and some of that other stuff. The late 90s, early 2000s, the internet's getting big. Everybody thought computers were the coolest shit ever. Lawnmower Man was a scarier computer movie than Fear.com.
I remember Man.
Yeah. It was a really poor attempt to blend technology and horror. If you've seen another movie named Host, it's a 30-minute short film about people doing a seance over Zoom. Yeah. That's a terrifying movie about technology that worked really well. Fear.com tried to tie that in alongside the really boring trope of a burnt-out detective, which to me is just kind of like trashy in a lot of ways. A lot of the story, Dan would have hated it if he didn't see it, really lack of depth with the characters. They, again, a lot like I said with Cabin Fever, the characters in this movie seemed to play into very standard stereotypical tropes for horror movies. Sad cop, family problems, you know, like it was really fucking predictable all the way through. What are we waving at?
Saying hi, bro, guys.
Brocast.
Oh, hi, Broadcast.
I didn't want to interrupt you and be like, shut up, Will. Hi, Brocast. So I just waved and let you do
Oh,
your
okay,
thing.
no, fair. I thought you guys were waving at me to stop me because you wanted to say something. I'm sorry.
We're like, no.
We raise our hand for that. If I got
Yeah.
some, I raise my hand and I go like this.
I also feel like Fear.com fell into that early range where people wanted to use the internet and make it seemed like, you know, like scary. And then you look back at it and it just didn't age very well. And 2002 wasn't the dawn of the internet by any means. Like we could see a very real direction that it was going. And I was like, this didn't age well at all. They made it like seem like, you know, we were going to be full AI, you know, and I was like, we're still not there 20 years later.
We're close.
So yeah, we're getting there, but still, like, it just fell flat all the way around. Ritter scale, I did this descending in my least favorites. So if I gave Cabin Fever a 3, I'm giving Fear.com a 2.
Wow.
Okay.
Never seen
I
it.
know I've seen Fear.com. I do not remember a single thing from that movie.
The Ring had scarier parts with people crawling through TVs than Fear.com. Fear.com relied a lot on the fear of people not fully understanding the internet too. You know what I mean? Like, again, it wasn't the dawn of the internet era, but it was still early enough that like daily websites were happening. So the idea of something bad happening on the internet could happen. But again, it was just very blah. It just wasn't very good. It was well done. It looked good. It just was kind of a shit story.
The next set of movies I have on my list all have something in common. They are a remake, very recent remakes that have taken, kind of like The Fog, the premise of the original and drastically changed it, and not for the better. Next up on my list is Poltergeist. The Poltergeist remake. Is that, everyone's seen Poltergeist, the original Poltergeist, Carol Ann, and the TV? Yeah. So Craig T. Nelson's the father. Poltergeist is one of my mom's favorite horror movies. Bakley was talking about, you know, his grandparents being horror fans. My mom loved when the parents put the kids to bed and got high in the bedroom and just everything about that movie. Sam Rockwell is no Craig T. Nelson. So instead of this family whose father has a job with this company and they move into newly developed homes and blah, blah, Sam Rockwell is out of a job. His family had to move. They moved into a house. The entire family dynamic is depressing as all shit because the entire time they like have no idea like if he can get a job, what they're going to be able to afford, if they're going to be able to live in this house. None of the cast is endearing in any way, shape, or form. And that was the beauty. Even Carol Ann, who like through the sequels got really fucking creepy, was a cute, endearing little girl. Like the brother, the older sister. There was the scene where the construction workers were working outside and they start catcalling her and she gives them the finger and goes on. And the mom's like all proud of her. All of the cool, scary shit that played out throughout the movie in a build all feel rushed and piled into one spot in this movie. Like they just did, oh, here is a quick sequence of scary things to get us to where we want to be for the finale instead of letting it build throughout the movie. Because originally it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like if I put a chair here, it slides across the room. If I put my daughter here, she slides like, and it builds and it gets scarier and scarier as it goes until the house gets fucking terrifying. From the beginning, everything was like, oh my God, this is so crazy and terrible and freaky. And like, we really jump into like the tree and the clown and Carol Ann getting sucked into the closet. There's no build in this movie whatsoever. Instead of smoking pot, they go in the bedroom and have a drink after the kids go to bed. I don't know. It just, again, they're drinking. They're depressed. It felt depressing. It didn't feel like it was weird. I wrote, it's like someone took shitty clip notes on Poltergeist. Family of 5 moves into a haunted house. Daughter talks to TV. Evil clown toy. Medium comes to the rescue. we got rid of the best part of the movie, which was the medium that comes to the house and talks to Carol Ann and coaches her through. Now we have a ghost hunter TV host who is also kind of sort of a medium, but backed off his gift to make money. And he comes in, and the daughter's a big fan of his YouTube show or his TV show, so she's all excited to have him there. Like, every good part of this movie, Tangina was the name of the little medium that comes in and all that. Like, every part of it. One almost cool scene was the drill in the closet where the guy's drilling in the closet, and then it gets sucked in and it comes through, and like his head's stuck there, and it gets closer and closer, but then he gets away before the drill gets him. So like nothing really happened there. Yeah, like it was suspense, but like there was no payoff in this movie. Everything just felt less than Poltergeist.
Okay.
And I don't enjoy, like I said, the big thing about Poltergeist is it's a family of 5, but like you feel for this family and what they're going through. I didn't really give a fuck about this family. And then also the whole like him yelling at the guy who developed it and being like, you moved the headstones, but you left the bodies. Like that, none of that was there. Like the best parts of the movie, they took away the lines, all of that. They took everything away, and what they gave us in return was just sad garbage.
Wow, sad garbage.
Not just
Okay.
garbage, ladies and gentlemen. Sad garbage.
Which is the worst type of garbage.
Anyone else seen the remake of Poltergeist?
No, for good reason. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Would you have liked it if it didn't have the Poltergeist name?
No.
Like if okay.
I have a movie like that, and we're going to talk about it. No.
Had they had that main part in that they took out, like you said, would have made the movie a lot better.
There was a lot of main parts that they took out, or they just didn't
Like
do
the medium,
as well.
like the medium part.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know if, because that's like people hate Nightmare on Elm Street because they recast Freddy
It's
and they
not
feel like
Robert
no one else can
Englund,
play. Right, exactly. It's not Robert Englund. I don't know that anyone could play her the way she played her.
Fair.
I don't know if you could have found, and so we've talked about how much I love Evil Dead as a remake, which is nothing like Evil Dead.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
but I love
So
it,
much
right?
better.
So like exceptions to every rule. They did the same thing. They changed the family's name, all of the characters' names. The daughter's name isn't Carol Ann. They changed all of that. But so I guess they didn't want us to compare it to, but it was still a family of 5. They still moved into a new home that had like, so obviously you're comparing everyone to who they used to be. The little girl still gets sucked into the TV. Like all of that is still there. They just renamed everybody and it just didn't fucking work. It didn't. And honestly, I'm ranking this lower than It Follows. Like I gave It Follows a little bit of credit. And I think the credit I gave It Follows is because I rewatched it and I saw what they were trying to do, even though I don't think they did it well at all. This is down there with the Night of the Demons remake. This is a 1. This is a
Night of the
1.
Demons remake was a terrible time. Wow.
Katie,
Yes.
what's next on your list?
So it's The Boy from 2016. I saw this in theaters while I was in college with my friends, and we walked out of the theater saying, "What the fuck did we just watch?" So the premise of the movie is an American woman goes to a small little English town across the pond to babysit a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old, sorry. But it's a doll. It's a porcelain doll. I don't like dolls. Dolls are creepy. Ignore the dolls over here. They're not. That's not them.
They're not porcelain.
They're not porcelain. Porcelain dolls specifically. And I had porcelain dolls growing up. Creepy little fucking things. So she has a specific list that she must follow for Brahms, which is the name of the child, the doll. Which, what kind of fucking name is that? English or not, stupid. She's to follow this list, and if she doesn't, then bad things start to happen. So much to the point where she thinks this doll is alive and possessed and whatever. That would have been a lot cooler than the ending we got. Because as the house is slowly starting to become on fire at the end of the movie, Brahms, a grown-ass man who's in his 20s, appears from the wall, who has been living in the walls and moving the doll and didn't die 20 years prior like the parents said. Also, mind you, the parents off themselves while they're on like a vacation because they can't deal with it, which is also crazy. I completely forgot about that until just now. This movie made no sense. And again, would have been a lot cooler if Brahms was just a possessed doll. We've seen that in so many movies. Would have been a lot cooler, not a 20-year-old man wearing a weird porcelain mask coming out of the walls and moving through the walls and living in the walls. And they also made a sequel, which had nothing really to do with this movie. It was just the same doll whose face was broken. The doll got broken! And they're just like, he's fine. Just put his face back together. He's good. No. And they're talking about making another one. A direct sequel to this one. No. For fuck's sake. I'm fine.
So,
okay.
Did you watch The Boy 2? Brahms, The Boy 2? Okay.
I didn't like this one. And then when I was like doing a little bit of research today to like brush up on things that I like wanted to remember, I read the plot of Brahms, The Boy 2. It's like nothing to. It's a different family. It just so happens to be the same doll. The little boy gets possessed or like conjoins with the doll. I don't know.
At least it's not a grown-ass man living in the walls.
I listen. That was. I was expecting a lot of things from that movie. Brahms being a 28-year-old man living in the walls, wearing matted clothes and a porcelain mask because he was burned in the. He was like burned in the fire that originally was supposed to kill him 20 years ago. No. Loser. No.
The fact that their son was still alive and living in the house and they hit him in the walls and they used the doll as a fucking dildo surrogate for him didn't make any fucking sense. I agree. Like, why not just have your... Yes?
He used the doll as a dildo.
Yes. a metaphorical dildo.
I'm just making sure I'm on the same page with you, Mateo, because I don't remember that part of the movie.
Brahms? No.
I think you watched a different part of the movie. You watched a different version.
Brahms is like... It's like having real penis at the house, but preferring the toy instead.
Deep.
The cast remained speechless.
The boy just became elevated horror.
They should have brown meat. They should have brown meat Vincent.
Honestly, they would have been best fucking friends. They're like all wearing masks. Mask busties.
Mass besties.
You guys got any thoughts on The Boy before I get Katie's ranking?
That was another one I forgot about that I had seen until she mentioned the creepy old dude living in the walls, and I was like, I fucking remember that. And I've seen the other one, and you're absolutely right. It is nothing to do with the first one. Yeah. It was like, I think it's called The Collector, where it was like they're like. By the time you get to the third one, you're like, what does this have to do with the first movie again?
Well, we will be. I think it's on the master list somewhere. We will be doing The Collector and the Collection.
So they haven't made a third one yet. We actually just broke news
in the process of it.
Third one. So there are only two, and actually, The Collector and the Collected.
Is the Collected the one that
Collected is the new one?
The Collection is the one in the nightclub, right?
The
Collection has the nightclub
is the nightclub.
scene, yes.
Yes. Okay.
And then the
So yes.
collector is the other one, and then the collected is the new one.
The collector's in the mansion or whatever, where the family's there or whatever.
The
That's
house,
the first
yeah.
one. And then the
I
second
just
one is
realized
like a third of it's in the nightclub scene where they find out
Yeah.
everybody's in it. Yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
Matt. It is your show.
no, you're fine. I realized as you guys were talking that Disney remade The Boy and did it better. Have you guys seen Encanto?
Wow.
Oh,
As soon as you said, I immediately thought Pinocchio, and I was like, no, that's not going to
I
fit
also
the
thought
mold.
Pinocchio.
And then you said Encanto, and I was like, Lord, like
What's up, Jess?
mad.
Well,
up,
okay,
Jess?
to be
About
fair,
Brahms.
Bruno they don't fake Bruno's death. They said he just left because his gift was scaring people.
But he didn't leave, and he still lived in the walls.
Yeah, and only, oh fuck, which sister could hear him? Shit. Damn
Peppa?
it, I love him. Was it Peppa?
Or no,
No.
Peppa was the rain.
Peppa was the, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, this is gonna piss me off. Anyways, we got, we move on.
Katie, where do you rank this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
2.
2.
I'm
Okay.
not
So we got
giving
a 1
anything
for
a chance.
rubber. We got a 1 for rubber
Yeah.
and a 2 for
Yeah.
the boy.
Uh-huh. What did I give it? A 3.5 for Hereditary?
3.5
3 and a half for Hereditary. All right. Daniel Bakley, I know what the last movie on your list is, and I have been waiting
what
for
the
this
last
one.
movie.
So, Dan,
And
what is the
I
last
picked it
movie on your
because
list and why do you hate
I
it?
knew you would have a lot to say. Because it's basically a movie off of Halloween, but they tried. You see, for the longest time, I didn't know what the association was with the Michael Myers movies until I had to actually deep dive into it.
You
because
could have asked
wanted
me,
to
I could
know.
have told you.
Yeah, well, I found out that this was like years
Let me
ago.
be to horror for you what you are to New Japan and MMA for me.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
So you had the Halloween movies. You had the first one, and the second one came out with Michael Myers. They decided to make like a movie, like a conception where they were going to make a different type of movie each year with the Halloween brand instead of continuing a successful franchise that was doing great. They wanted to throw a different concept out, and their idea was, after those first two movies, they were going to have different movies with different conceptions. And Halloween 3, Season of a Witch, was a movie based off of a jack-o'-lantern mask with witchcraft powers. You find basically a guy named Harry owned a shop. He's walking out with the mask. He gets attacked by men in suits. That's what they call them, men in suits. You wind up finding out that they're androids in the future.
Fuck yes.
Don't play it.
Yes.
No, because I'm
And
taking stuck in
then-
my fucking
And then he
head.
gets away, and he goes to the hospital where you meet the main protagonist, Daniel Schaus, who is a drunk, has an ex-wife and kids, and it basically helps him out. Later that night, Harry gets murdered by a suit of men, and they have to. And Daniel is basically goes around trying to figure out why it happened, and brings them to a town in Santa Maria, California, where there's a Silver Shamrock factory with a song that you're singing, where they made the masks to uncover the mysteries of the mask. And you wind up basically finding out that when you put the mask on and the song plays, your head blows up, and snakes and insects appear out of nowhere. And basically, the whole movie, at the end, you find out that it's pieces of the Stonehenge that are causing everything to happen, where they control the song at. And it's just a complete like difference from the Halloween 1 and 2 that we know and love.
You go first, Matt. Just go.
Where's Stonehenge located, Bakley?
That's fucked up.
located in England.
Well, it
In
depends.
England?
The real one or the one they don't tell us about?
The real one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in
You
London.
can have it.
Oh, not London. It's in England. That's one.
It's in England, and it's related to Celtic mythology, correct?
Yes.
There it is.
Is that maybe why you have an issue with it? Is because how it may paint your ancestors, the Celts?
Yeah.
The Celts.
No. So for those of you guys who don't know, and if you're watching this show, I'm sure you do. Halloween and John Carpenter's idea for Halloween was meant to be an anthology series. Actually, I believe Halloween Season of the Witch was supposed to be the second installment. However, because Michael Myers got up at the end of the movie and everyone loved it so much, the production company said, "We need you to make another movie and give us a definitive end to Michael Myers." And John Carpenter never wanted to make a Halloween 2, so he got really drunk and wrote the movie, and that's where Laurie and Michael being brother and sister came from, and how we got Halloween 2. Now, I love Halloween 2. Also titties. But I love Halloween 2. So Halloween 3 was that attempt, and when that attempt was not received well, we went back to Michael Myers. It has now sort of become a cult classic.
Yes.
Even though it was received terribly when it came out, there are a lot of people now who love it, who tout it as the best movie which I disagree, the best movie in the Halloween franchise. We're going to talk about a movie where if it was called something else, I probably would have liked it more. If this did not have the name Halloween 3, if it was just the Season of the Witch, would you have enjoyed this movie, Bakley?
Yes, because it wouldn't have been attached to it. Because I do like the movie itself, the concept. I just don't like that's attached to that franchise, and it had the name. And them always when they do the marathons, it's always Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm like, why do you keep throwing 3 in it? Because it has nothing to do with the rest. And I get it. It's part of the collection. It's just so out of place and has nothing to do with it. And I know it's a big thing where just because the name Halloween is on it, that people have issues with it. I just think that that's a big thing to me.
Okay.
And I give it a 5 or 6 because I do like the movie. It just gets knocked off because of everything else with it.
Okay. Katie, I'm going to make you wait a second because Will let me go first. So Will's up next, and then it's you. Will, go ahead.
You said pretty much what I wanted to say. My biggest thing was when you and I did Michael versus Michael, and we discussed what was supposed to be the Michael Myers timeline, and then we ended up dissecting what was like 3 different timelines inside the series, which was kind of awesome. But when we were discussing this movie specifically, I said the same thing Bakley said. Going into the episode, I was like, dude, I don't understand what the fuck this has to do with Michael Myers at all, outside of like the snippet of an Easter egg of one of the, I think it was the original Halloween movie was playing on the TV at one point. And then at the end of the movie, when we see Michael or whatever, like other than that, I was like, this isn't a Michael Myers movie. This isn't Halloween. And you explained it to me. And you and I pretty much came to the assumption that if you removed Halloween 3 and it was just the Season of the Witch, it would have been a fantastic, like, cult horror movie. You know, like it was really cool. But the fact they attached Halloween, which gave you the presumption of Michael Myers, which made people dislike it because of that, was an unfair bias going into it. And that's somebody who only had their opinion changed on this movie a year ago. 2 years ago now, I guess, when me and Matt did that episode.
I just started something right now. I just started something right now. The suited men in 3, did they get the suited guy with the metal shoe in 4 or 5? And I think in 4
The
or
Man
5.
in Black.
Yeah, did they derive that from Season of the Witch?
Maybe. So, I mean, he was also, if you watch the producer's cut of Halloween, very much into the Celtic lore and runes, and there was a lot of that in there. And it was the Cult of the Thorn is a Celtic cult that worships a god based on an astrological sign, the sign of the thorn, that only appears every so often and possesses blah, blah, blah. So there might have been some of that in there as well. They might have pulled that into the lore to kind of maybe make Halloween 3 more part of the franchise when you tie those things together. Katie, there you are.
There you go.
Goddamn microphone. There you are, Katie. Go ahead.
So I'm going to reiterate a point that has been said numerous times. When Matt, Reek, and I covered the Halloween series a year and some change ago, I watched all of the Halloween movies, and I said the same thing. If Halloween 3 didn't have Halloween 3 attached, it's not a bad movie. It's an interesting premise. The masks, that stupid catchy fucking song that I will be singing all of next month and tonight. And I hate you.
Silver Shamrock.
Shut up.
It's on my phone.
It's in my head, and I'm mad. And then another little thing, Bakley talked about, like, when they play the Halloween movies. Matt and I have discussed this so many times that they never play the fucking Halloween movies in order on anything. The time they play movies and it doesn't make sense. Him and I talked about it every week during the month of October last year.
I just know that they always play 1 to 5 and they never play, I think, the one with Paul Rudd in it.
6, which is my
6.
favorite.
Yeah.
No, they play them in the dumbest fucking order, and it pissed me off every single week. Matt and I had to talk about it on Monday on Grace Conversation.
Listen, you can ask Will, you can ask Katie, you can ask Reek, who's not here. I will fight anyone on the fact that Halloween 6 is the best movie in that franchise.
The first time I went on any horror type of show with Reek and Matt on the Havoc Hour, the two of them argued for, no joke, 20 plus minutes about what is the best Halloween movie. And I just sat there, minding my own business, because I hadn't seen any of them yet.
Like, I've always wondered if they never wanted people to see it because it was never on TV when they did like all Halloween like marathons, or they showed the movies during Halloween. They never had 6 part of it. It always ended at 5, or they'd show H2O and then the next one. Like, they never showed 6.
And 5 is awful, in my opinion. But I know what's last on Will's list, and I am ready to hear his unadulterated thoughts on a movie that I made him watch. So, Will, what you got?
The 2008 masterpiece, where they recast Freddy as an angry strip club owner. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Zombie Strippers. One of my biggest issues with this movie from beginning to end was it was like being on a really bad, like, acid trip. Because parts of it you thought you were watching a zombie movie. And then parts of it you thought you were watching like an army movie or a military movie. And then part of it you thought you were watching a fucking Hallmark movie with like the blonde girl like making money stripping for grandma. Like, there was
I would watch that Hallmark. Hold on, I would watch that Hallmark movie. Where is that Hallmark movie?
Not on the Hallmark channel.
So much fucking happening on top of it. Oh yeah, by the way, there's zombie strippers. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's just cut it. Just call a spade here. This plot line was thinner than a piece of paper. Like, the military points were like, oh shit, like military and zombies. But then when they kind of shifted over to the zombie part of it, and there's all the subplots of like Robert Englund like wrangling zombie strippers because the fucking weirdos in the club like love the zombie strippers. I'm like,
the weirdos in the club is mad.
But I also feel like one of the big issues here is not only was it super one-dimensional, because, and this is going to come from somebody, Matt, one of my closest friends, one of my confidants, we talk almost daily, knows nobody will laugh harder at a dick or fart joke than I do. But even this movie, I was kind of like, why? And I say it in wrestling. I've said it on Smacking It Raw. I've said it on Talking to Bakley. And I say it on Botch Spots. Like, don't make me ask why. Like, the film included gore, but not in the best ways, I guess. Like, it seemed like it tried to be a serious movie, but it knew it wasn't. So again, like, I like bad movies that are bad on purpose. This was a bad movie that seemed like it was trying really, really hard to be good. I will give Jenna Jameson and Ron Jeremy and all the old school porn stars credit. But when it comes to porn and titties and horror, you should watch the movie Porn over Zombie Strippers. I would give Porn a 5 on the Porno. I would give Porno a 5 on the Ritter scale. Straight down the middle. Solid fucking, like, it's got funny pieces. It's got some legitimate horror. It's got a sex demon. And you get titties. In Zombie Strippers, you got zombie strippers and titties. But, like, there was nothing else. Nothing could save that movie. Not even titties. Not even zombie snoo.
Depends on your perspective. I look at it like this. When I go into a movie called Zombie Strippers, I am not expecting to go into I have no high hopes. My hopes are strippers and titties and zombies. And they gave me strippers and titties and zombies. They gave me super strippers that were zombies because the zombie powers amplify their stripping skill and appeal. They didn't explain how. I didn't really need an explanation how. I'm not going to lie to you. I was distracted most of that movie. It is what it is. It is not a good movie. I am not going to sit here and tell you it was a good movie. What I love about this is the movie that you guys should have watched for our last panel episode, which was on zombies. Katie is going to watch, and if you want to join us, Will, you can watch in 2 weeks for the Katie Horror Showcase. And that is Pet Sematary 2.
We talked about that because I had mentioned that I wanted to do it because I'm a big fan of the Pet Sematary series. I remember that because I was doing something the time y'all were going to end up trying to do it.
And that's not a segue in any shape, form, or atmosphere. Did you give your ranking on that, Will?
That's a 1 on the Ritter scale.
That's a 1? Okay. No, me talking about Pet Sematary 2 is not in any way a segue for the fact that the next movie on my list is 2019's Pet Sematary. And Will said he actually enjoyed this movie. Here's why I don't. Katie, we just watched Pet Sematary, right?
Yeah.
Who gets run over by the car or the truck?
The son, the cat, both.
Both, yeah.
Allegedly.
Not in this movie. In this movie, they killed Ellie.
Disrespectful.
Was Judd kind of charming, like an old, like, yeah, he was the problem, but like he had a charming personality. He was Herman Munster, kind of something about the Southern charm.
Yeah, hey, Matt, do you know the ground is sour?
I did know the ground is sour. We replaced him with John Lithgow, who sorry, I'm choking on that bullshit. Had none of that. John Lithgow had none of the charm at all of Herman Munster going into it. Less charming, more creepy, and doesn't tell Lewis that the cat's going to come back when he takes him to go bury it. At least Judd Apatow was like, hey, let me tell you, or Judd Apatow, not Judd Apatow.
Judd Apatow. Whoa.
Different person. At least Judd was like, hey, in the original, so we're going to bury this cat. The cat's going to come back, blah, 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 blah. Like, gave him the whole story. No, not this Judd. This Judd's like, hey, we're going to go bury this cat. And then the cat comes back, and Lewis has no idea what the fuck is going on. The parents waiting until the child is 9 to have a philosophical debate about whether or not heaven is real in this movie. Like, that's not something you guys talked about in your marriage previous. Now, when you have a 9-year-old child, is the first time you're like, hey, So I told our daughter that heaven's real, and you're like, I don't think heaven's real, and you probably shouldn't tell her that. Like, that was not a discussion you guys ever had in your relationship or in the 9 years that you had a child until someone died, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't believe in heaven. I don't think you should tell our daughter that heaven's real. Blah 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 blah. Like, I feel like that's something that needs to be hashed out. Something you should know about your spouse prior to getting married and having children.
Probably.
The Zelda story is far more terrifying in the original movie than it is in this. Zelda's barely there. She's the one that refuses to tell Ellie the cat died. Rachel being the one that refuses to tell Ellie the cat died, which leads to Lewis and Judd going to the cemetery, which is now also on a mountain that they have to climb. Like, they're not climbing over sticks. They have to ascend a fucking mountain and bury it in rocks. Like, it is an actual fucking hike.
Okay.
Pascal is damn near non-existent. Same with Zelda. Barely there. Pascal was the guiding spirit. He gave us the exposition. He told us what was going on. He helped Rachel come back to what was happening in the movie. So on, like, all of these elements about the original movie are now gone and changed, but it's still the same movie. And again, like Poltergeist, in my opinion, just less than. Also, to cap all of this off in the changes of the movie, Ellie is the one that buries her mom. Not Lewis. And then Rachel kills Lewis, and then Rachel buries Lewis, and then they all come back for Gage, who is left alone without a parent in a car, and that's how the movie ends. Is the entire dead family coming back for the child that they left in a car after being reanimated, and then cut to credits. And that is the fucking movie.
Fuck. I'm glad I didn't see this.
And you didn't even love the original Pet Sematary.
I don't really like the original.
What you got for me, Will?
Gotta unmute yourself first, bud.
I don't want to say I liked this one more than the original, because I'm a big firm believer, and I say it all the time. You guys have heard me preach it. Not everything needs a fucking remake or an origin story. You know, what was Katie talking about earlier in the episodes? You know what I mean? The unoriginal concepts in Hollywood. What I liked about this, although they didn't stay true to the book all the way through, I feel like they gave you a different approach to the characters based on how they were in the book. And I think that's what the directors and writing team wanted to do, was they kind of give you a different approach. They changed the story. But I think, like, John Lithgow's portrayal, I felt seemed more, he had that no trespassing, you know, like, you know, he's not going to hurt you, but he will if he has to kind of vibe. You know what I mean? And I feel like John Lithgow delivered that well. So I don't really hate it. You know, I would give both of them about a 5. You know what I mean? 5 or 6.
See, I've got this as a 2. They changed way too much in the movie for me. So one thing that Stephen King hated about The Shining was how much was changed about the emotion and the attachment that you had to the family. He said that The Shining felt devoid of feeling and warmth, and it was cold, and that's why he hated it. I don't necessarily agree with that. Shining I really enjoy, with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. However, this movie is, for me, that you've changed so much about what the movie was that I don't feel needed to be changed. I don't think killing Ellie versus killing Gage added anything to the story. I feel like making Judd less not even sympathetic, less
empathetic?
No, charming, I guess. Someone that I'd actually want to talk to, someone that I wouldn't be scared of as a child. Sure, that'll work. Didn't really add to the movie. What's up, Dom? Appreciate it. The changes didn't add to or make it better or even as good for me. And I personally think Pet Sematary 2 is the best movie in the franchise outside of Bloodlines, because Bloodlines was actually really good, but I've only seen it once, so I'm not really putting it on that scale. But of the first two movies and the remake, I prefer Pet Sematary 2 over the original. And it might just because I saw it first, I grew kind of up with it a little bit. Maybe that has a lot to do with it. It's more my style. I enjoy that more, but I was going into this expecting certain things, at the very least. Charming Killer Baby was one of those things, and I did not get Charming Killer Gage. And I was sad about that. Like, the highlights for the movie weren't there for me. And it was the same thing with the Poltergeist remake. Like, the things that I loved about the movie, they took away, and the things that they added to it did not replace the things that I loved in an equitable way.
That's crazy, because we even said in the last episode we did that Demon Baby Gage is the best part of the movie. Like
And
the
instead we got
original.
Demon Ellie.
I don't like that.
Not a fan. Do you guys want to keep going for a little bit? I do. So we talked about movies that if they had a different name wouldn't be bad, or I would enjoy them if they had a different name. And I have a couple examples of that I can talk about.
I'm good. I don't have anything. I booked 2 hours in my head for this episode. Seriously, minimum 40 extra minutes. Whatever you want to do with me, Matt.
All right. Dan, you brought it up, so I'm going to address you. Movies that if they were titled different would be better. First on my list is 2021's Wrong Turn. They decided to reboot Wrong Turn, and they took away everything that made Wrong Turn Wrong Turn. You know, you had Elijah Dushku or friends. They go out into the mountains. They meet crazy inbred hillbilly mountain people, cannibals that are killing them. And this has none of that. Instead of the inbred monsters, it's just a cult of people who were living in the Appalachian Mountains, like regular everyday people who were like living off the grid outside of society. They were established after the Civil War because they thought that society was going to collapse and that they were going to be the new they called themselves the foundation. They were going to be the foundation of a new society. And then it never happened, but they just continued to exist outside of it. And as a movie, they took a wrong turn with that movie. As a movie, if it wasn't Wrong Turn, if I wasn't going into that movie with the expectations of cannibal, inbred, mountain people, I probably would have liked the concept of this movie. Like, if they had called it The Foundation, I would not have hated this movie. I would have been entertained. It would have been cool. There's a lot of stuff in there that is really good, but because you called it Wrong Turn, you killed it for me. Like he said with Halloween, if you hadn't called it Halloween. Another one is the Child's Play remake. I
was gonna bring that one up too.
Well, go ahead, Katie. Talk about the Child's Play remake.
No, it's okay. I mean, you can talk about it, but like, it's when you said like movies that have the same title, that was like one of the first ones that popped in my head. But I don't remember much about that movie, if it makes sense.
I actually really like that movie, but the problem is in the original Child's Play, it is the spirit of Charles Lee Ray that possesses a doll and comes back. In this movie, it is malfunctioning AI. There is no serial. There is no Lakeshore Strangler. There is no evil spirit. If they had called the movie Buddy, I probably would have enjoyed it.
We talked about that when we did the Child's Play series, or the Chucky series, I guess. And also that doll was ugly as fuck. And like, not in like a cute way like Chucky is. No, that doll was just ugly.
It's not a bad movie. These aren't bad movies in and of themselves, but when you give it the franchise tag to sell money and then you don't live up to what the franchise is, you're disappointing your fan base. And then they turn on these movies. Again, you could have called Wrong Turn The Foundation. I would have probably really enjoyed it. I'd probably own it. I'd probably be like, you guys should check out the fucking Foundation. This is a cool premise. But nothing Wrong Turn is in fucking Wrong Turn. I really like the Child's Play remake. I just hate that they called it Child's Play.
Mm-hmm.
You muted yourself. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I was unmuting myself. when we did, it was the episode that was movies that scared the hell out of us. It was Child's Play, and I still to this day haven't seen the remake of Child's Play because I haven't watched Chucky, nothing, because I genuinely just don't give a shit about that series because of how bad the original Child Play scared me as a child when I was a kid. There was something about the doll. You know what I mean? And we talked about fucking porcelain scary dolls. Like Child's Play is one of those series for me. It scared me when I was a kid. Never gave a shit about it since.
Surely it wasn't his red hair.
I love you and Jax. Like, I love you both. Jax is literally like a brother to me, and he's redheaded.
I will say this, Dan. I think you would make like a really cute killer bleacher creature. Like
Jesus
we made a bleacher creature
Christ.
of Dan Bakley, and then it came to life and murdered a bunch of people. You would be a really cute, like stuffed murderous doll that we could sell a franchise on.
Interesting.
I'm down for it.
Into it.
One more movie that I actually watched for the first time last night that I've heard so much about, and I have put off watching. Basically just for the shock value of this movie, how this movie was banned in certain states, how lawsuits came out of it, that I watched it. I can say I finally knocked it off my, like, when they do the list of like, have you seen these horror movies? It's one that was always on there that I never watched. Now I've watched it. It's done. I will never watch this movie again. It's considered one of the first ever movies to use found footage. It is 1980s Cannibal Holocaust.
What a shit show, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I 100% agree with you. That is just a snuff film to be a snuff film. Like, they wanted to just make as much fucked up stuff as they could in a movie. Like, didn't they get in trouble for unaliving a dog to film it?
Not a dog, a turtle.
A turtle. I knew there
And
was
it wasn't a
something
turtle.
in
It wasn't just a turtle. There was a possum, a turtle, and a monkey.
They got in trouble for killing a bunch of animals off in the movie. I remember it. And there were points where it got banned because they thought the scenes of cannibalism were actual, real, like filmed, shot, like
And not just cannibalism,
stuff.
there was other awful stuff that they thought really happened. The cast went into hiding, so that people thought that they were actually really killed off in the movie, that this was all real stuff, which then led to lawsuits. And then the judge, so disgusted with the movie, used the animal cruelty charges to charge the director, seeing as the people were still alive and didn't actually die. Again, it's one of those movies that as a horror fan, when you get into horror circles, you hear people talk about because of the controversy and everything around it. And I saw it on Peacock, and I was like, I'm finally going to sit down and watch this thing and see what all the hype is about. And it was a hard watch last night, and I will never watch that movie again.
You guys are wrestling content creators. That is, it's almost like the Chris Benoit of the horror, like the horror genre, because there's a lot of people that won't. There are people who obsess over it, who are like, this is one of the greatest films, blah blah blah, and then there are people who are like, I don't fuck with it because the directors did A and B and C, and they manipulated their cast and they did all these ridiculous things. So people are like, fuck it, and they like blacklist it and won't talk about it. And I think that's another weird Will analogy that I would liken it to, because I've seen people that are like that, where they just won't talk about the movie at all. They're just like, no.
Yeah, I like heard of the movie like maybe once or twice in passing. It could have been a conversation between the three of us. I don't even remember. But Matt told me yesterday, like after Smack and Raw, he's like, I'm gonna go like watch this movie. And like I looked up the premise real quick, but like nothing else. And I was like, oh, okay, well, have fun. And then he texted me today. He's like, don't fucking watch it. This happened. It's terrible. They murder animals. Bad things happen. Don't do it.
Like actual animal abuse. And
yeah. No. I said, I'm good. Thanks. I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to. No, thank you.
You guys have anything else on your list you guys want to talk about, or should we wrap this up? We've hit an hour and a half.
My list is good.
Same, yeah.
Nothing else came up for you guys that you guys hated? Katie, you want to shit on Barricade one last time before we get the fuck out of here?
Yeah, Barricade is one of the worst goddamn movies I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life. This movie, Matt and I read, like, I found the plot synopsis of Barricade. And if you don't, like, if you haven't seen the movie and you read the plot synopsis, you're like, it sounds a little interesting, potential to be good. And then you watch the movie and you're like, what in the hell did I just watch? It is the lowest ranked of all of the WWE horror movies Matt and I watched, I think for both of us. It is one of the worst movies in general I've ever seen, because I just sat here just confused and annoyed, and nothing about it made sense. It was just
Katie likes zombie strippers better than this movie.
I did like Zombie Strippers more than Barricade.
A movie that I thought of that I don't like very much, Matt. You and I talked about this very early on in our frienddom. It's a movie called Hell House. Hell House LLC or whatever.
How dare you?
No, the first one is fucking amazing. Absolutely.
The first one's phenomenal. Okay.
Great. Second
Okay.
one, great movie. Like the first one's like an 8. Like that's how much I like the first one.
The first
like,
one's incredible.
Great.
I thought the first one
was
was real.
Me too. That's how good the first one was.
Okay.
Like the clown and shit. Like I've seen
Terrifying.
stuff on TikTok that made me think this could actually be real found footage. Second one drops down a little bit, but still good. Like a
Not
solid
terrible, yeah.
between 6 and 7, probably, where the first one would be an 8 or a 9. The third one legit might be a fucking 3 in my book. That's how bad it was. Like to me, I was like, how did you take such a great first movie and a really, really good second movie, and then by the time we get to the third movie, I'm like, no, this is fucking terrible, guys.
Have you seen Halloween Ends?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said, how can you take a really good, like a great first movie and then a really good second movie, and then we get to the third movie and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends.
Yeah. No.
So, Hell House LLC, again, the first time I watched it, I was like, this actually happened. There's no way this was just a movie. I was like dead set. Same way I felt about Paranormal Activity the first time I saw it. Same way I felt about Blair Witch the first time I saw it. Like, I think, like, in my mind, when I first watched them, it's like, holy shit, this is fucking real. It's crazy. The second one wasn't terrible. It did seem like just like a good continuation of the first one. The third one, I think I've only seen once, so I don't remember much about it. And I do know they just made a new one that I haven't seen, so I can't comment on that one. But Hell House LLC, I think the third one's like Lake of Fire.
Yes.
I have like vague memories of it, but it's not gonna top the original or the second one at all. When you said Hell House LLC, I was ready to fight you about the first one, but I'm so happy
the first
we're
one
on the same
was
page.
amazing. Yes, I will give the first one was a fantastic movie, and I remember telling Matt that, and I remember telling Matt that the first one was good, the first one was great, the second one was good, and the third one was trash.
As soon as you said it, Matt like leaned back because I gasped, and he
I
thought there
was
was
ready
gonna
for
be
a fight. I was ready for a fight. I'm gonna hand the show over to Katie for a second. I will be right back, but we are gonna plug. So Katie will have you guys plug in whatever order she sees fit.
Yep. Okay. Bakley, go ahead and plug yourself.
You can find me on IG and, of course, X at CageIQ. I got a few podcasts that I'm on, of course. We got the Wrestling Bros podcast. We're on hiatus right now with my co-host Mo being very busy. He's starting up his own lawn business, so we're on hiatus right now. But you can also find me on Circle of Debate. Me and Ivan have a New Japan show called the Dojo Debates, where we talk New Japan and everything with Japanese wrestling going on with Noah, DDT, and whatnot. Just enjoyed Takeshita being in Japan. I actually hope he stays over there and doesn't go back to AEW, because he's killing it over in Japan. And I'm also doing a few other shows on the panel. Me and Justin do an NXT watch along every Tuesday from 8 to 10, where we watch NXT and then just give our feedback on the show. So definitely check me out right now on Circle of Debate.
Dan is absolutely fantastic. He has a wealth of knowledge. Really entertaining show. You guys should go check him out, especially if you want to learn more about New Japan, if you want to learn more about some of the other wrestling. He is the go-to guy. He comes to me even if I don't ask, and he's like, hey, this is happening over in New Japan. Most of it's Great Okan stuff, which I appreciate because I hear he's killing it in the G1.
He's getting a world title shot now, so
fucking right he does. Go ahead, Katie. I just wanted to put Bakley over.
Oh, okay. Will?
First and foremost, Katie, I want to say thank you for having me on Getting Off tonight to be the honorary Oos of all things. I love you too, Matt. If you're interested in my shenanigans elsewhere, you can check my link tree in my bio at the Will Gray. You'll find everything I do for Rivet City Radio, Botchbots, and Share Shots off the top media in my writing profile for Last Word on Sports.
I guess I'll go, and then you'll go last.
That's how that works.
Yeah, that's how that works. Well, then you made me a host for a second, and then I got all types of thrown off. I was like, I'm not going last. This isn't actually my show. You can follow me on Twitter, KaterSN13, link to about to all things She-Elite Showcase, twitch.tv/She-Elite Showcase, and youtube.com/She-Elite Showcase. Typically Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern-ish. Yeah, lots of stuff happening over there.
And as always, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Matt Ritter, MattRidder, for your wrestling content, at Getting Off for your horror content. That's this show that you guys just watched right here. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoy more. And I hope you'll come to the Twitter and you'll actually interact with my tweets when I say, hey, like, tell me your least favorite horror movie. Or like, hey, what movie should we watch next or cover next? Like, come talk to me and let me know what you guys want to see. Because what you want to see, I want to give you, including my dick. Also, you guys can follow me on all social media, everywhere else, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky at Smacking It Raw. For Ms. Katie Kinsey Baby, Dan Bakley, and the Will Gray, I am the patron saint of podcasting, the Warden Matt Ritter, and this has been your #1 horror movie podcast, formerly on Pornhub.